Hi folks, this is Doyle Dykes with my old pre-war Martin guitar. A lot of those songs were recorded. Those songs there were recorded on an album I did years ago called Country Fried Pickin. And back then we didn't do as much on the internet and that sort of thing. And people would write letters. Can you send me that Chicken Fried Pickin record? Can you send me that? One of them called it Country Fried Chicken. And so anyway, it took on a lot of different names. But there was the cover of it. And I still have the old cowboy coat. And the old car was borrowed from a local guy here in town. He used to belong to the mayor here in Cleveland, Tennessee. Dwayne Allen called me and said, Doyle, I had a car just like that. Where'd you find that? And I said, well, it was borrowed. And so it came with a book years ago, and it had pictures of Grandpa Jones and back in the day. Of course, I used to play with Grandpa and me, and then Grandpa and Roy Acuff, because I did Wabash Cannonballs on this record. And some of the other songs is Country Fried Pickin' that I wrote in honor of James Burton. So career-wise, it was a touchstone in my life. And really what I wanted to do was a worship record. And it came out the next year I did it. But at the particular time in 2001, it just didn't seem right. And I prayed about it. I said, Lord, help me to do this. And the thought came, well, just do a feel-good record. Something I can do now, and I'll keep working on the worship record. And I felt a peace about it. And so I thought, well, that must be it. So I called Sound Emporium, booked the studio, called Dave Pomeroy, bass, and then Steve Turner, drums, Paul Franklin, steel guitar, Stuart Duncan, fiddle, and Jimmy Capps, of course, guitar. And I thought, wow, we're going to have a blast. So we recorded it to tape, analog tape, and there was a couple of songs I wrote. One. Dwayne Thing. And Dwayne Thing, I wrote it for Dwayne Eddy. And also another song I wrote in honor of a friend of mine that had triplets, and they weren't doing well. They thought they were going to lose them. We prayed about it, and they said it was a miracle they all lived. And so I call it the Three Little Miracles, and I wrote that, and Dwayne played on that as well. That came out on another album called Sounds of Wood and Steel that T.J. Baden had produced with Larry Hamby with Windham Hill. And so I've heard that song before. Haley sang that one and played mandola. I did a Grandpa Jones medley. When I was in the Opry, I'd start the show with just like this. Portland East, Portland West, back roads around, going down to Suspects, Oakland, 8 more miles in Louisville, coming into view. I did a Chet medley, is a very medley that I did a year later at when he had. No, I take that back. This actually happened before I recorded, but I played this Chet medley on the Grand Ole Opry. And then I recorded it on this record, and that later on in that year. And so we recorded this record on September 4th, 5th, and then the 7th and 8th. I went out of town, and this is in '01, and I was playing in North Carolina. And of course, you remember exactly where you were when 9/11 hit. And I was on my way back. I was going to be playing in the Tri-City areas, so I was staying in Wytheville, Virginia. And saw it on the Weather Channel at first, and they said, due to what has happened in New York City and what's happening right now, I thought, what's going on? And I turned it on CNN, and of course, the tragedy of 9/11. And so I was supposed to go into the studio the next day to mix, and I thought, should we cancel this? And Dwayne Eddy said, no, do not cancel. He said, people need a feel-good record. And he said, I'll come over and help you with it. And so he came over, and we just joined together and cried together and mixed the record. And I'll never forget, though, Paul Franklin said, "You're not going to do any of those fast train songs, are you?" Like we did back in the 70s. I did some records, and Steve Wariner was on them, and Paul Franklin. I said, "No." And then when yeah, he said, "You lied to me." So what a great time we had, and a feel good record. We've come out with this album. There's some other songs on there. In fact, the Peace Over Shanghai on my YouTube channel is on this record. And smoke gets in your eyes, and that a song that I love, Avalon. Boy, what a fun record. And I think we need a fun record. We need some fun music today. And not just pushing my records, but thank you for all those who have been supporting us and buying t-shirts and albums and things like this. You can download all of these things too on iTunes or whatever your favorite, place to download might be. And so what we did, we came out with this so we could ship them around the world a lot easier. So it doesn't have the book and everything like it used to, but the same cover. But what we did was we remastered this. Now on the back, it actually has a little thing here. There's a restaurant where I was at, and it says Diamond Lils. And the lady that does my nails, her mother owned Diamond Lils. So that was in an alley downtown Cleveland, Tennessee. And of course, she does my nails now. I didn't know her then, but that may not mean anything to you, but it does me. And so it was a happy, feel-good record. And then after 9/11, everything came together for my worship record, and I'll talk about that in another time. But Songs of Faith and Freedom. And the song I did on this very guitar, A Call to Freedom, I wrote later. I wrote other things and then put the patriotic medley things on there, and God Bless America, and then some of my favorite worship songs. And this has become also, these two have become some of our greatest selling records that we've ever had. So A Call to Freedom and Country Fried Pickin. And so folks, for a feel-good record, like I said, now might be the perfect time for that. And maybe you'll learn a few things on there. I'll be doing some videos on some of these songs and show you how I did it. And folks, I hope you'll get in some good family time and some good guitar picking time or whatever you do. And God bless. Thank you so much.